Hello, and welcome back to the Virginia Democratic Small Business Caucus Show, live here on June 22nd. We're just glad to have you back, glad to have you back in the stream, glad to have you back, folks. All right, always got a little bit of vibe playing at first. Want to get you moving, let you know we love you, let you know we're ready to go, ready to have you for today. And we're going to have a nice show, got a great guest. So let me go ahead and bring it down and go ahead and get started, folks. Are you ready to go? It's so good to see you. So good to see you back with us here on the Virginia Democratic Small Business Caucus Show live. Got my technology moving all around me. Got a great guest tonight, and we're also going to cover the things that we always cover. Folks, it's good to see you again here on the Virginia Democratic Small Business Caucus Show live. And listen, we're going to go ahead and just welcome back all the small business owners, all the supporters for the democratic ideals where we're out here, and all the folks who are soon to be small business owners and supporters of small business owners. But as we do every week, I always start off by saying, how you doing? Are you taking care of yourselves? We certainly hope you are taking care of yourselves, because we know that COVID is still out there, folks. It's not gone yet. It's still there. So make sure if you haven't gotten vaccinations, get your vaccinations. And if you haven't gotten that booster, get that booster. And if you haven't made up your mind to do anything as of yet, think about it some more, because we still want you to be here. We still want you to be here doing all the great things you do for yourself, your family, and your community. And it's just a pleasure to have you back here on June 22nd, 2022 on the Virginia Democratic Small Business Caucus Show live. Love to have you. Love to see you. You know, we're going to discuss all of the favorite topics we like to go through, and then we're going to come and bring our guest in about 20 some minutes into it. And I usually just start off talking to you a little bit about what's going on and covering the things that we want. You know, it's the summertime, you know, folks sometimes aren't here, but you know, that's okay. They jump on when they can jump on and look at the show on demand. We're happy when you do come back and spend a little time with us, and just using this as a reference point and information point. But you know what we always love to talk about and continue to talk about is what's going on in Virginia. You know, we just had a successful Virginia primary here for the Democrats, and Don Beyer for the congressional district, the 8th congressional district, just won his primary race, and we're getting ready to prepare for in Virginia coming up in November, like everyone else, for the November elections. And those November elections are coming up. So, you know, you have to be prepared to make sure that we continue to stay focused and stay there for the long game and the short game. And the long game is we need more folks in the Senate and in the House of Representatives. And we need more folks at the state level and the local level that are Democrats supporting the things that we're trying to get done. These are peculiar times that we're doing, but that we're involved in right now, I mean to say. But it is important that you stay focused. You stay focused in the short term, which you have. Don Beyer, I'm pretty sure, thanks you for what you've done in helping him win his primary race. But also, we've got to stay focused through the general race, which is coming up. And we also have to stay focused for all the things that we're trying to get accomplished. You know, folks, there's a lot of things out there that we're trying to get done, but we need to give Democrats more support in the House, more support in the Senate, and bills for President Biden and to sign, and with the support of his Vice President Kamala Harris. So, folks, stay focused, stay in there. Virginia's doing what it needs to do, and I know you're doing what you need to do. But, you know, I like to continue to always just sort of give you the little bit of recipe for success and the sort of things that we know that are important. And the most important thing is the thing that I stay on every week. That's right. I'm a one-trick pony. You know what I'm going to talk about, right? You know what I'm going to talk about. It's going to be this. It's got to be this, because, folks, we can't get anything done without it. We have got to have voting rights. and there's all kind of people who are trying to stop you from voting all over the country. And I just want to let you know, don't let them fool you. Don't let them get you off course. Make sure you're registered. Make sure you've done all the things that you need to do so that you're able to vote in all of your elections. That's local elections, that's state elections, and that's also in excuse me, federal elections. But in order to do that, you have to be aware of what's going on. And, you know, let me try to just give you a little bit of a heads up on some things that are happening, okay? And one of the things that are happening is I want to give you the education about voting rights. Very important thing with our voting rights. And you want to make sure that folks kind of understand, why is this so important? Because they are foundational to a democracy. Those are the things that allow us to have the representatives in office that represent the ideals that we support and we believe in. And if it wasn't so important, if your vote was not so important, then they would not be working so hard with over 400 and some odd bills at the state level trying to suppress the vote. And that voter suppression is mostly targeted at people who are supporting the Democratic Party. So you've got to get out there and do what you need to do. I mean, it goes back a little bit. Let me give you a little bit of quick history, as I do every time, just for the folks who haven't seen it before. Now, let's talk about it a little bit, right? So we've got the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which prohibited discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. It provides it has provisions for the Civil Rights Act that in it also forbade the discrimination on the basis of sex, as well as in race and hiring and promoting and firing. And what you see down there below is just sort of fights that went on, and the people fighting for a more perfect union. When you see these pictures below, when you see Democratic President Lyndon Baines Johnson also there with Martin Luther King and others when that civil rights bill was actually passed. And you also see pictures of children riding together on the school bus when we were trying to get rid of those sort of things. And why is that important? Because that's just one of the pillars of civil rights. And those things are under attack right now by people who don't believe that those civil rights should happen. And let me tell you the next thing that you need to know about, so you make sure that you're on board, is the 1965 Voting Rights Act of 1965, which this act signed into law August 6, 1965, by President Lyndon Baines Johnson. It outlawed discriminatory voting practices in many of the southern states, some of the northern ones too. And after the Civil War, which included literacy tests and other prerequisites, basically voter suppression type activities that were put into place. What we had was all over the country, there was a whole bunch of different sets of laws that would require different things for people to allow them to vote. What that Voting Rights Act of 1965 did was basically made that even across all 50 states and U.S. territories for people who were who were voters in this country. So everybody had to follow the same set of rules, not like what we have now since 2013, when the Pre-Clearance Act, and essentially that was the heart of the Voting Rights Act of 1965, was removed by the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court said, well, hey, you don't think it's right, just pass another law and put it back in. And of course, that's what we've been trying to do since 2013, put that back into place. Because that's not a Republican thing, it's not a Democratic thing, it's an American thing, it's a democracy thing. Everybody should be able to have unfettered access to the voting polls. Everybody should be able to choose a candidate of their choice and may the best candidate win. Not with people trying to do things to fix races in a way of making it hard for people to vote, or targeting certain laws and suppression laws that are out there that basically targets one group or the other, making it more difficult for them to vote, purging voting polls and other different crazy things like that, which I'll get into a little bit further. But these are the things that I come and I talk about you. This is our 53rd episode, and I talk about it every single time. I'm a one-trick pony because I know that this is the most important thing that allows all the rest of the things that we want to have happen is voting rights. So that's why I talk about it all the time. And let me go on to the next thing, and that is the not the Voting Rights Act, but it is the Fair Housing Act of 1968. The 1968 Fair Housing Act expanded upon the other previous acts and prohibited discrimination concerning the sale, the rental, the financing of housing based on race, religion, national origin, sex, and as amended, handicap and family status. Basically, Title 8 of this act is also known as the Fair Housing Act, as I mentioned before. And this is what people were out there demonstrating for, pressing their Congress people for, and eventually you see Lyndon Johnson, the president, signing that act in 1968. Why do I talk about these things? Because those make up the triad of what is the basis of the modern civil rights in this country, which got rid of people stopping you from voting, guaranteed you civil rights and non-discrimination, and guaranteed you fair housing. You have states, just like Texas recently passed a bunch of bills within their legislature, which is not controlled by Democrats, that basically attacked all three of those pillars that give us our rights in this country as Americans. We have in this country, which is known as a democracy. We don't have a autocracy. We don't have a theocracy. We don't have a dictatorship. What we have is a democracy. And the basis of that democracy is voting rights. If you don't have the right to vote, then you cannot control who is going to be making laws on a local, a state, and a federal level that affect your life. And as small business owners, it affects your businesses. So African Americans can tell you all about that, because you have things in the past like Tulsa and other things where people built up businesses and people came in and just burned them down or prevented them from voting, or made laws that basically created highways right through the middle of African American owned business districts, or anyone's district, if you're not an African American, where you would have the challenge of having to maintain your family and your business, and just as an American citizen out there working hard, but the people controlling the government, you didn't have any say, whether they did it legally or they had extra legal terroristic type activities, such as the various different groups like the Ku Klux Klan, and they go on and on. That is what voting rights is all about. Preventing that discrimination based on religion, sex, race, national origin, all of that. We are all Americans, and all Americans deserve the same equal rights to the voting polls, so they may elect people who basically represent the ideals that they believe in and represent what is in the Constitution of the United States. So let me go on a little further and bring a little further up to history here. Let's talk a little bit about the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act. The John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act basically puts back into place what I talked about earlier, was the preclearance piece, which was taken out of the Voting Rights Act, essentially the heart of that act, which was a preclearance provision, which basically said if any changes are made to any rules concerning voting, it had to happen at least 180 days before an election. It had to be cleared by the Department of Justice on the federal level. And it basically modernizes voting rights acts, determining discrimination that was happening in 50 different, in different states and localities. Basically, what you want to take from this really with the John Lewis, or what they call it HR 4, the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, is that it puts the heart of the voting rights protection back into place that the Supreme Court took out in 2013. And that is a pre-clearance provision. Extremely important that the pre-clearance provision basically says, hey, you can't make any changes 180 days before an election, and it's got to be cleared by the Department of Justice. So there we go. And then that was not the only thing. The House of Representatives also passed another act to help voting rights in this country. And what they did pass was HR 1, the For the People Act of 2021. Again, it has expanded access to all American voters, 2 weeks of early voting, banning purging of voting polls, restoring the full protections of the Voting Rights Act, which I talked about earlier, which was the decimation by the Supreme Court of the pre-clearance provision, and had other things like finance reforms, election security, grants to help states with voting machines, and processes for auditing and securing election results. These are the sort of things that the House of Representatives, controlled by Democrats, actually passed until we got to the Senate. And let's talk about exactly what happened in the Senate, right? So here's the latest information, on the Senate. And let me go ahead and see whether I can read this now. Basically, this legislation had several provisions to fight voter suppression, including national automatic voter registration, prohibiting voters being purged from the polls, and federal partisan gerrymandered. It improved election security results. It also strengthened the ethics and standards for 3 branches of government. For example, requiring presidential candidates to disclose 10 years of their tax return, and prohibiting members of Congress from using taxpayer money to settle sexual harassment cases. But that wasn't it. They also had things in there like curbing corporate influence in politics by forcing super PACs to disclose their donors, requiring government contractors to disclose political spending, and prohibiting the coordination between candidates and super PACs, among other reforms. So this is the bill that was in the Senate, and the Senate was trying to get passed, which did not get passed because they could not get rid of the filibuster rule. And so therefore, we're still where we were when we began. But the thing is that there has been progress made by the United States Senate and by the House of Representatives, at this time both controlled by Democrats, to try to get this done. So when I talk to you about the long game, when I talk to you about the short game, these are the issues, these are the concerns that we have, so that we are able to get the sort of people in the office who are going to protect our rights as American citizens, who are small business owners, veterans, taxpayers, everybody, regardless of their income, their age, their gender. We here in this country, we are a country of laws, not a country of men. And those laws we have guaranteed us through the Constitution of the United States. And just to let people know, I'm going to give you that civics lesson again. We have 3 separate arms of government, separate powers. You have the judiciary, which are the court systems, the people who basically hear cases that are brought that are against the Constitution, which includes our local courts and the Supreme Courts. You have your legislative body, which is the House of Representatives, and you also have the Senate. Together, they're called the Congress. But a lot of times people get that mixed up. They say Congress, and whoa, who are you talking about? Are you talking about the House, the representative, or are you talking about the Senate, which are the 2 elected officials that each state has? So there's 100 senators, and there's 435 congressmen, based upon the census and how it's laid out, which appropriates the number of representatives that you have. So you have 3 separate powers in government. The legislative body makes the laws. The executive, which I didn't mention earlier, I should have mentioned that. Of course, the president must carry out those laws that are passed by the legislature, and he must also sign new laws before they can actually become a law. He has to sign those bills, then they become a law. And of course, which I said before, was the judiciary, which is the Supreme Court and all the other lower courts below it. So there's a lot that goes on. The government can be a little bit difficult sometimes for people to understand, but it really is simple. You need to vote. You need to understand we have 3 separate equal powers of government: legislative, judicial, and executive. And you as a citizen have a right to vote. So you need to make sure that right is guaranteed you in the Constitution of the United States. So make sure you get out there and do it, because those are the people who are making the decisions that affect the lives, your lives, your children's lives, and your children's children's lives, and your businesses that you have out there. Be involved, stay activated, stay woke. Yeah, woke is a good thing because you don't want to be asleep at the wheel and wondering what happened as opposed to directing what's going to happen. So I just try to tell you, I don't care where you stand, but I do care that you vote. You can be on any side of the fence you want, but what I want you to do is register to vote and make sure you vote. And I don't want anyone getting in the way of that sacred gift that we have in this country through our democracy, is the power that each person has to come out and say, here's how I feel and here's who I'm voting for. So I put that out there. So I'm asking you, and you're probably trying to say, well, what's the call to action? I'm going to tell you what the call to action. And there's a very good tool out there that I've been telling people about that you may not know about. And I've been promising you, it's called, let me make sure I get it right. Let me get down here and pull out the right one, make sure my technology is right. This is an extremely good tool. I've been mentioning it for a while, and I said I'm going to tell you about it. So basically, it's an activism app. It's called 5 Calls. And 5 Calls, up here at the top, you see their website. And 5 Call basically allows your voice to be heard. All you got to do is download that app to your phone or download it to your desktop. It allows you to call your congressman. It tells you exactly what the policies are. And all you got to do is put in your zip code and it does the rest. Once again, folks, call to action is call your congressperson. Call your congressperson. Make sure that they know that you know about HR 1, you know about HR 4, you know about the Senate Bill 2747. You know about all of these bills, the things that are out there that guarantee your right to vote. And this tool basically allows you on any issue, but particularly I'm telling you about voting rights, to basically download that app to either if you got an Android or you have a Google phone, you go to Google Play, you can download it there. Also, if you have an iPhone, you can go to the App Store and with Apple, and you can download it there. So listen, you've got iPhones, you've got Androids, you've got your desktop, you've got an app that essentially does the work for you. You just dump in your zip code and then click on the policy that you want and put your information in there, and boom, it makes the calls to your senators or to your House of Representatives, all the people that you like. It's a fantastic activism tool, and it's free. So all you have to do is download it and use it, folks. I get excited about that because that means everybody has in their hand the power to be a very strong advocate for their right to vote and for their right to do whatever it is that they need to do to make sure that the candidates that they want to get elected actually get elected. And that's the least you can do is vote and use that 5 apps. So there's your call to action, folks. Call to action is there's that activism tool. Once again, it's called 5 Calls, and you can go on your Google Play or either go to the website or either go to the App Store, download it and use it. So when you have some time later on when you're viewing this thing, just put it on freeze and type in that URL, freeze the video, go to your web browser, type in that URL and say, hey, I'm going to get that and put it on my desktop. I'm going to make a note and I'm going to download it as one of the many apps that I have on my phone. So folks, there it is. I like to just keep on it. I'm going to talk about it next week too. So if you miss it this week, we're going to talk about it again next week. So you're not going to miss it. I'm going to let you know about it. I'm a happy warrior because I know that we need to get out there and get this done. Short game and long game. Okay, folks, I'm going to keep on moving here because I don't want to use all the time up. We only got you for an hour. And I've kind of, said my spiel, but I also want to tell you about a fantastic guest that we have coming on. And he's an excellent gentleman. I've known him for a while through some of these activities, haven't had a lot of personal contact with him, but I've heard about the things that he's done. And he seems to be a very good person who I think was a great guest to have on the show. And before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and bring up his promo. And here it is. I want to tell you about Chris Falcon. Chris Falcon, he serves as legal counsel and civil Division Supervisor for the Arlington Circuit Court Clerk's Office. He's been a practicing attorney for the past 14 years and is the founder and owner of the Falcon Firm, which is a law firm. He earned his undergraduate degree in management from JMU and his JD from the Widener Commonwealth Law School. He's also vowed to run for clerk of Fairfax County Circuit Court, folks. And this guy stays busy. He's involved. So, hey, when you see his campaign stuff out there, I think you got to give it a look. So he's out here nice and early, just kind of, and I was like, hey, we need to talk about him a little bit. People need to know who he is. In 2016, Chris was also the recipient of the Arlington County Manager's Excellent Award. And that's an award was for his contributions to the jury orientation video. Man, this guy's all into the legal and the court things, because I was looking at that and I'm gonna have to ask him, jury orientation video, what's that all about? He's gonna tell us. Also, he currently serves on the James Madison University Board of Visitors. Also, he's on the Fairfax County. Excuse me, folks. I got my technology running here for a minute. Let me stop it. Hey, Aaron, hold on a second. I'll let you in a second. Okay, we're into the show. Okay. All right. Bye. We'll get you. As I tell people all the time, this is live VADSBC Small Business Caucus show. So anything can happen on live TV or live internet. But anyway, that was my co-host, Aaron Porcher, who's with the Louisiana Small Business Caucus group. And she's going to be on the show shortly here, hopefully, when I get her in. But let me finish telling you about the Fairfax County, the Fairfax County Human Services Council, which Chris Falcon also serves on. So he stays quite busy. And he's also on the Arlington County ASAP Policy Board and the Board of Directors of Futuro. And I hope I didn't mess that up, but I'm sure he's going to help me make sure it's clear. He's serving on several boards, running for office, runs a law firm, works for the Arlington Circuit Court Clerk's Office, so he gets a lot done. But then finally, a little bit of his political resume. He's also been on the Virginia Latino Advisory Board for both governors, Terry McAuliffe and Ralph Northam. So folks, I got all that out there. Without further ado, I want to be able to bring to you Mr. Chris Falcon. Hey, Chris, how are you doing? Glad to have you on the VADSBC show live, man. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me on the show. And officially, you did not mispronounce it. It's Futuro. So good job, my friend.
Oh, I knew those Spanish classes would come in handy for me at one point.
Hey, before we get started, can I just say I loved your call to action so much that I downloaded 5 calls while you were speaking. So
there you go.
I'm excited to get to use it.
It's a good tool, man. We definitely want you using it, man. So that's a great thing. And I really want to thank you for coming on to the show. I've run my mouth for the first 25 minutes or so, and I really like to turn it over to you so that our guests, you can tell us all about what it is that you do and, just how you came to be Chris Falcon and all these great things you've been doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to jump into my story. But first, I want to say I really appreciate everything you're doing and for having me on the show. My sons and my daughter and I, we just spent the last couple of weeks going around the 8th Congressional District, putting up door hangers to let folks know that they have been redistricted over into the 8th from the 11th.
Okay.
And we found a lot of people did not know that. So we were excited. And I may have seen a couple of them come and vote yesterday in the election that we just had. But thanks again for having me on. My origin story begins with my parents, Walter and Betsy. They immigrated from South America. My mom came in 1968 from Ecuador, and then my dad came from Peru in 1971. And they settled here in the D.C. area. They lived in Washington, D.C. first. But eventually they heard that Virginia was better. So they crossed the Potomac and came into welcoming Fairfax County. My parents only knew how to speak Spanish when they came to this country, but that changed pretty quick. And I love the whole small business angle. So I'm going to talk a lot about that. But my father began a small business in the mid 1970s called Falcon Painting. And he ran that successfully for over 25 years, actually, and helped put us kids through college doing that. And that basically just started by him realizing that painting houses was a good way to earn a living in that time. And he got good at it. And he decided, I think I could be doing this for myself and not for someone else. So I'm going to hang a shingle and get some signs made out and start a sole proprietorship. So that's probably where us kids got that entrepreneurial bug, I think, from my dad.
There you go.
Yeah, but I have a lot of fond memories growing up seeing his work truck with the name Falcon Painting on the side. But yeah, as I said, they settled in Fairfax County, and we lived in Falls Church, kind of close to where Route 50 and Endell Road meet. And I have fond memories of the school systems. We all came up through the county schools. And but the way my folks, I think probably one of the best things they did was they had this bright idea in the 70s that they would start purchasing homes that needed a little bit of work and start fixing them up. So basically they started flipping homes before it was cool to do that. But my dad would work his Falcon painting job during the days and then fix the home, the investment property that they'd gotten on the weekends and nights. And I started to help out with that when I came around in the 80s. And with what little bit I could help, my memory is that I was helping a lot. But he jokes with me and is like, yeah, you carried something now and then. But but no, I remember sanding and scraping and holding ladders because I was always nervous when I saw my dad way up high on the side of a house. But yeah, fond memories of that. And you know, I also recall a lot of times I think I wanted my parents to be around more, but they were working constantly. My dad, you know, he hadn't received higher education in this country when he arrived, but he had it made up that he wanted his kids to be able to go to college. So the man worked constantly, and I'm glad that he's finally retired and getting to enjoy some of the fruits of his labor. But yeah, that's kind of my origin in Fairfax County. I came up through the school system, and then I went on to JMU, as you mentioned during the intro. And then I did my law school in Pennsylvania at a small university called Widener Commonwealth Law School. I graduated in a very small class of about 95 people.
Wow. Tell us more. I know you got more stuff to give us, man. Keep on going. I'm listening.
All right, great. Well, let me tell you, the thing that I probably did way too much, or depending on who you ask, maybe not enough of in law school, is I volunteered. And I think if you were to look at my transcript, I probably should have been hitting the books some more. But I found this amazing program when I was in Pennsylvania called the Leap for Kids program. And all 3 years of law school, I would go into an 8th grade civics classroom and teach the kids about the Constitution, about the Bill of Rights, and about the court system. And the project at the end of the unit always culminated with putting on a mock trial. And the reason that I did that through this group, LEAP, which stood for Law, Education, and Peace, was that the mock trial was actually what got me interested in the law in 8th grade back at Frost Middle School many years prior to that. So I did that all 3 years I was in law school. And as the expression goes in the book I read to my kids, it filled my bucket to be doing that and giving back to the community where I was living in Harrisburg. But once I graduated law school, I came back to Northern Virginia and started volunteering with pro bono law and giving back as much of my time as I could do. I'm a firm believer in that tenet that if we've been blessed, we have a duty to give back a little bit to our communities.
Absolutely. And it looks like you've been doing a lot of that. I mean, your background, what you're telling me, how you came up and how your dad kind of put that work ethic into you early as you doing things, as well as what you were doing, what he did. I mean, so, you know, what they say, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Those values and things that you believe in are important, and you're obviously been exhibiting a whole lot of that. So, you know what? I don't know, because I saw one of the things on there when I was looking at what you were doing for the court now. And this award for an orientation video. Tell us a little bit about kind of just a short snippet on what that is that you do and what was that award all about?
Yeah, absolutely. So in 2014, I started my law practice, and I ran that for almost a year before the Virginia court system came calling, and I decided to go work for the Circuit Court of Arlington, the Circuit Court Clerk's office. The jury orientation video was this great idea that Paul Ferguson, the clerk of the circuit court, had, which was to put up a video on our website that allows people to get some information prior to serving on jury duty. And we had been hearing from people that they had some worries and questions. And I think it's only natural to be a little nervous before you're going to come in for jury service. So if you go on our website now, it's still up there. And you may recognize one of the actors in the video because it's me. But the county manager's office recognized us for doing that service to the Arlington County and City of Falls Church community, because the City of Falls Church is part of our jurisdiction too. And I was very proud of that work, because I have found, since coming to work for the court system, that people go on our website to try to answer their questions before they call us. And they definitely go on our website before they come in and show in person. They're looking for information on there to try to answer their own questions. So that video has gotten a lot of hits over the years.
Well, listen, we didn't know you had those acting abilities. I'm sure people want to find out, hey, let's see whether or not we can get this guy to act in some of our plays. But listen, just all jokes aside, that is important, because a lot of people, when they think about doing, having to serve as on jury duty, they think first, oh man, I'm not going to get paid. I'm going to be missing work. It's going to cost me my job, yada, yada, yada. And I'm pretty sure, I haven't seen that video, but it sort of answers all those normal questions, because usually a lot of people try to get out of that duty as opposed to actually being a jurist. So, but what you do now, so what about your current job that you do right now for the court?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a supervisor for the entire civil division. So in the circuit court clerk's office, we have a couple of different divisions: the criminal division, the civil division, the land records office, where people's deeds get recorded when they buy a home. Every single property that gets purchased in Arlington County, the deed is recorded in our office. And then there's also the probate office. So when someone's loved one passes away and their will has to be brought to the courthouse, the clerk's office is actually who handles that. So the probate office also assists people who have loved ones that have passed, who passed away without a will. So they stay very busy. But I'm not bragging when I say the civil division stays the busiest. Our caseload is crazy busy in Arlington. So I support and manage the staff that are there, staffing our front counters, staffing our phone lines to answer questions for people who have cases or are calling to get information on how to file for a name change. I also supervise the division that issues marriage licenses. So that's one of our big duties at the clerk's office. Yep. The issuance of marriage licenses.
Well, it's always good news to hear that the civil division is much more busier than the criminal division.
Right. Yes.
You don't want that the other way around. You're not at all. But I will tell you this, some good things happen in Arlington. And a lot of people, when you were talking about name changes and things of that nature, and a lot of people don't have wills when they pass. I don't want to get on you for technical advice, but out of all those different areas, I think you mentioned probably that was the one which probably gets the most attention, along with marriage licenses, right?
Yeah, the probate office is very busy and gets a lot of questions from the public. One of the things that I'm proud of, Mark, that we've been able to do in the court that I intend on bringing to Fairfax is coordinating with all of the legal aid organizations. When I arrived to the court, we used to basically give out one flyer to the local bar association's lawyer referral service. And that wasn't good enough, in my opinion. I think when someone comes to the court and they have legal questions and they're confused and they're scared because they're going through some of the toughest times in their lives, I think we owe them a duty to say, here you go, here's a bunch of different organizations, and this one is free. For instance, one of the legal aid clinics I volunteer at is free every Saturday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. and they can come there with their issues. The Virginia State Bar Lawyer Referral Service is $35, but for 30 minutes, that's actually not bad for 30 minutes with a lawyer that handles that particular area of law. And another organization that I volunteer on from time to time is called freelegalanswers.com, where Virginians can go on and pose a question, and a Virginia licensed attorney can answer it for them on that forum. So I'm very proud that we did that for the residents of the jurisdiction where I currently work. And that's one of the things I want to make sure we're doing in Fairfax as well.
Well, it's my belief, and I'll throw my 2 cents in there because that's a very good point you brought up. And I will give full disclosure. I was a political science and pre-law undergrad. I did get accepted to law school. One of those guys who actually didn't go, got into technology. But what you mentioned regarding people having proper representation, which they're guaranteed in the Constitution of this country, it's one thing to have the guarantee, but it's another thing that guarantee is actually fulfilled in some sort of realistic way. Right now, that is very much still a challenge. There used to be more legal funded organizations out there for people who didn't really have resources. That was actually taxpayer funded.
Yep.
Those sorts of things aren't out there anymore. And a lot of this has had to be picked up by, pro bono or different nonprofit organizations trying to fill in that gap. I guess I could throw one question at you now. You think that is something that we probably need to go back to make sure people have, full representation as American citizens, regardless of the jurisdiction they live in?
100%, I agree with you. So I've spoken to individuals and representatives from the Virginia State Bar. As licensed attorneys, we're supposed to be donating a certain amount of our time every year to pro bono. And I think we're falling short of that right now. So if you were at the Arlington court maybe a week or two ago, you may have seen me, but you weren't. But the people that were working with me would attest. I direct people down to the law library sometimes, and I say, find one of those lawyers and remind them they're supposed to be doing 2% pro bono of their time every year. No, I agree with you. We need to find a way to guarantee legal representation to all.
I mean, everybody kind of sees on TV, the public defender comes in there. He's got this stack this high of cases, more people than he could possibly talk to and things like that. So I know all those things are important to make sure that everybody, regardless of their income level or whatever, everybody's not going to get the dream team, but they ought to get at least adequate representation. So
that's right. They ought to get someone. And public defender who you brought up and the legal aid organizations can't do it by themselves. They need all of us to pitch in.
The same thing that happens with nonprofits in a lot of different areas. They do a lot of good work out there where, it's not actually being funded by the government. And, one of the other things I want to talk a little bit about to you is I was looking at what you did for both Governor McAuliffe and Governor Northam in this organization that the Virginia Latino Advisory Board. Tell folks a little bit about that and how you function there.
Yeah, absolutely. So in 2013, I did this wild thing where I took a break from the law for a while and I worked on the McAuliffe Northam herring campaign.
Okay.
And after we won and I decided to start my law practice, I was feeling the itch for public service again because I'd gotten the bug, right? And I wanted to come back. So I decided to apply to serve on the Latino Advisory Board. And thankfully, they thought I had, some important contributions to make, and I was chosen and sworn in to that board. And I was very proud to serve on it from 2014 to 2018 and advise both governors on the issues that affected the Latino and Hispanic communities in Virginia. One of the very cool things we did, Mark, was we did tours of the entire Commonwealth where we would go to all the geographical parts of the Commonwealth. And meet with people in Roanoke, in Virginia Beach, in Richmond, in Northern Virginia, of course, and talk to them about the issues that were affecting them economically, health, education. And then we would put that all together in our report to the governor. And we met with both of the governors and were able to give them a real breakdown of the issues that were affecting the Latino community. I'm very proud of those years. And we have a really good, active Latino Advisory Board right now. After I left, a number of good people have come on. I did my 4 years and I wanted to make sure I didn't stay on too long to allow opportunity to other people to serve.
Well, that's fantastic because, I know the other folks I know in Fairfax County or the Fairfax County Democratic Committee. They have an excellent Latino organization that's represented by some good folks who mentioned you and told me about you and the good work you've done. And when people talk about the Latino community, a lot of people don't know it's a very diverse community. I know there's a lot of El Salvadorians in this particular area, but it's more than just that. Like your parents, they're from Ecuador and Peru and
Peru, yeah.
Lot of
lots
other
of people
places.
from Bolivia and other countries. It's absolutely a very, very diverse cross section of all of Latin America here in the DC area.
Well, let me do this here. I know we're running out of time here, but we've got at least a good 14 minutes here. I want to ask you a little bit about why you've decided to run for office. Maybe you might want to just talk a little bit about that and sort of give folks your idea. You told us you got the itch, you're scratching a little bit, and you want to get out there and not serve just the Latino community. You want to serve all of Fairfax County and everybody.
That's right. Yeah, I love public service. Okay. And in my opinion, local government is the way to go. Local government has the greatest effect on people on a day-to-day basis. And that's not that there's nothing, I have nothing against federal and state government. I'm just a local government guy at the end of the day. Since 2014, when I came to the clerk's office, I realized that we were being with people on some of their best days, but then we were also there for people on some of their worst days. And it helps when you have public servants that have empathy and compassion and know how to interact with the citizens during those tough times. So I also was able to make and implement a lot of things that have made the court more accessible for the people in Arlington. And I've identified some areas that we can do that in Fairfax County using technology. One of the things specifically I have kind of an issue with is that if someone has a case pending in the Circuit Court of Fairfax right now, they can't see their case information. Really? It's actually blocked behind a paywall. So if you're in that court,
you say a paywall. Explain what a paywall is.
Yeah, it's the information for a case that's in that court. You would have to pay $150 per quarter to be able to log into the program that they use to see that case information. And that's actually gotten some coverage in the news. We don't have that in Arlington.
Our tax money. So here you are with a public organization actually having open information that's done by our courts. That what a private organization makes you pay to see the information of which your case is all about?
Well, the current clerk's office.
The rules of the government making you pay.
The rules of the government are, the rule of that office says, well, if you want online case access, you're going to have to pay this much. I don't think so. I think that needs to be free, the way it is in our court and then the way it is in most counties in Virginia. So sorry, my daughter may walk through the shot at any moment, but that's one of the first things. But
you're right.
Something I want to change, and I'll start working on that on day one. I know the people at the Virginia Supreme Court that we need to talk to get our case information on the free system so that someone can log on and find their case information. Where's my court or where's my hearing? What courtroom is it going to be in? What time is it? What's been filed? Those things all need to be accessible and free on the website.
Well, that sounds like a great ad. On top of the other things that we talked about earlier, giving everybody as much access as they can to the legal support that they can have when they're facing civil or criminal cases. So anything else you want to tell us about it that's something that I want you to give away all your secret sauce, but we're here to find out about you.
Yeah, I'm going to save some for the website for falconfairfax.com because that's going live in a couple of weeks. Okay. But I'll tell you, I want to meet people where they are. So if someone wants to come to the courthouse to do business, they're always going to find my staff there, and they're going to be friendly and they're going to be well trained and be able to assist anyone that wants to come in person. But Mark, I don't think if you are in South County or if you're in Herndon, you should be having to come all the way to Fairfax City to do some of these simple tasks. Some things I think should be able to be done over our website.
Well, that is leveraging technology. And I would imagine just like a lot of people work from home, there must be some things that have changed over the last 30 to 40 years technology-wise that can make some of those tasks a little easier and free up people to do things that need more human power to get them done. So
absolutely. I mean, one example is the online name change form that I implemented in Arlington that our office rolled out, and that I was a part of that team that brought that. So when someone wants to apply for a name change in our county, they can fill out a fillable form on the website and submit it entirely remotely to our office on their phones or on a computer. That's just one example of an idea that we had to try to simplify things for people and not have to have them come in if they didn't want to come into a courthouse to do that task.
Well, that's kind of interesting. I mean, I have a technology company myself. I do cybersecurity and other sort of work like that. And I know that also I don't know, but I would assume that the sort of protections that you need in place to protect people's information and private information, can always have additional and the latest capabilities there to make sure that continues to be the case.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. A county IT got sick of hearing from us because we had to pull them in so much for projects, but it's worth it. I think to provide a good service to the constituent, if it means we have to spend some more money with our IT folks to keep their private information safe, then it's absolutely worth it. One other thing I'll say too is I was really proud of our office's response during COVID. We were able to keep people home and not force them to break the stay-at-home order to have to come to our court to do things. We found so many ways to be nimble and say, no, you can get on a Microsoft Teams meeting with us and do that thing. You'll see, they may have actually seen my face a lot of times for different things. But I'm proud we did that because it not only allowed our customers to stay home, it allowed a lot of our staff to also stay home during a large portion of the very tough years that we've been through over the past 2 years.
Well, it sounds like the courts learned a lot, like a private sector, and the government learned a lot in what they could actually get done remotely, especially when you're sort of forced into glory. So it's good news to hear that, both Arlington and Fairfax County have taken advantage of that. Let me ask you this. I've got another question for you.
Yeah.
So tell me about your family. You just mentioned you have children. I'm sure you have a lovely wife. I want to make sure that I give everybody their proper shine.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So my better half, my wife, Jackie, is a former Fairfax County public school teacher. Just like my mom was also an educator. My mom was an instructional aide for Fairfax County Public Schools, and my wife was a teacher. And she is now a part-time teacher with the FCPS school system in a really cool program called the Family Literacy Program. And
Excellent.
I'm so proud of her. My kids, Christopher, Chase, and Gracie, are 6, 4, and 2. And
wow.
Like I didn't have enough on my plate, right?
That's a lot. Yeah. I remember those years.
But my oldest, Christopher, he just finished up kindergarten here in Annandale, where we live. And I couldn't be prouder of my family. That's why you see this big smile as soon as you asked about them. Yeah, that's my team.
Well, that definitely keeps you grounded with a lot of people here in the county and across the country. So that is fantastic. I'm going to go to the next question I have for you. I usually ask, and we're about at that point. We got about 6 minutes left because people kind of go on or talk about it a little bit more. I always ask people, if you were king for a day, you got your magical scepter and you could just wave that scepter and get anything done you wanted to get done, Chris, what would you do?
Wow. I would try to have people start treating each other kindly again. I think we have reached a tough time where there is a lot of people that are having a hard time interacting with each other in a civil way. Let me just put it that way. I'm trying to choose my words very carefully, but I would love to be able to wave that scepter and remind people that we are all neighbors and that we are all in this thing together. Like I mentioned at the beginning, going around my neighborhood with my kids, leaving the door hangers for people to tell them that they were redistricted, reminding or letting them know. In some cases, they had no idea that there was a primary election coming up. And then I'm telling my kids why we're doing it. We're telling people that they have an election, telling them to go vote. We're not telling them who to vote for. We're just letting them know that they can exercise the franchise on Tuesday, right? But at the same time I was doing it, I was a little worried. I'm like, how good was this targeting? I hope I don't put this on the wrong door and get yelled at with my kids, right? But we have to get back to being able to talk to each other about things and not resort to attacks, but say, okay, you think that, I think this. Let's talk about it, my friend. Let's try to figure out how you came from that place and where we can kind of find some middle ground. So that's kind of probably a wishy-washy answer, but that's what I would do. I'd love to be able to just get back to a little bit more civility.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, you and a whole lot of other people, so I'm not surprised you said that. A lot of times when I ask people that question, I'm already thinking to the back of my mind. I've given them a little bit of character and personality profile in my mind. I've said, I bet they say something like this. And you definitely did, because you seem like you're a very decent person. The work you've done has been fantastic, and just the sort of things that you support. So I think that was a great answer.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
I look forward to, seeing how your campaign goes further on, and hopefully you'll come back and spend more time with us at a later time. I like to sort of stay on point when I tell people I'm going to end at 8, but sometimes we go over. But I'm going to ask you, because we've got 2 more extra minutes, I'm not going to waste any of it.
That's fine. I'll fill it. So go ahead. When
you're relaxing and you're just trying to, enjoy yourself, what do you do, man? What sort of, you got any hobbies or things you do? What are sort of things you love to do?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that question. So until COVID hit, it was basketball. Okay. My men's guys basketball night with my buddies, who we've all been playing together, a lot of us since we were teenagers or recent college grads, at least, kind of fell by the wayside, and we haven't rejoined that awesome Tuesday night league that we had.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure, basketball. But nowadays, honestly, life has changed, and my kids are so active that it's going to their games and living vicariously through them, right? Like seeing my son out on the soccer pitch and having him be so much better at that sport already at 6 than I ever was. But no, most nights during that time, you'll probably find me out at like Mason District Park supporting my kids here in Annandale. And there are many sports they play.
Well, you got a lot of that coming up, and I wish you a whole lot of fun years. Man, that goes by very quickly. Next thing you know, man, they're asking you for the car keys on their way to college. So enjoy.
Oh, I believe it. I mean, I blinked and my oldest is 6 already. It's like, you were just being born the other day. What is going on?
What's going on here? Hey, I forgot to ask you, what high school did you go to? You went to high school in Fairfax County?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I thought I wrote it down. No, W.T. Woodson High School in Fairfax.
Okay, I'm an old Hayfield Hawk, man. So,
okay. I think you guys used to beat us.
Hey, but you know what? This has been a fantastic conversation. I think people have got an opportunity to know you a little bit better and to look forward to hearing more from you. And Chris, I just want to thank you. Thank you for coming on the Virginia Democratic Small Business Caucus Show live. We're going to have you back, man.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
We'll see you, man. See you next time.
See ya.
Take care.